All right, I mentioned to you, if I need you to pick anything up, it'll be on the back table. If I need you to do anything when you come in the room, it'll be up here on the board. And every now and then there might be something where I need you to like brainstorm or come up with a quick little response. A lot of times it might just be open up your syllabus to page 6 or open up the grapes of wrath to page 42, just so you know what we're going to be doing at the beginning. So when you come in the door, 9th period, check the table, grab stuff that you need, grab your seat, look up at the board, see what it is that I need you to do, bless you at that point, and then we'll be ready to go. We've got a big class. There's like 23, 24 of us, so for 9th period, AP, a lot of stuff's going to be going on. The sooner we can get organized and rolling, the more effective it's going to be for us before that bell rings. The one nice thing is it's 9th period. If you don't have to run out of here and you do have a question, it's not like you need to get to 8th period or something like that. If you're able to stay after school for a little bit, I could probably go over stuff with you if need be. But make sure you just check board, table, that you got everything that you need, and we'll be able to go from there. The stuff that you picked up, you got a weekly syllabus from me. So beginning of every week, usually on a Monday, you get a weekly syllabus. It's for you to do with as you please. I like having a planner that I can write on, mark up, highlight, circle, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I give this to you. In your notebook, like I would get a 3-ring binder because you're going to get a lot of papers, just the way it is. If it has like that clear sheet, at the very beginning on the front cover, a lot of people slide the syllabus right down there so you know what's going on for the week. It's your call how you want to kind of set that up. But what I try to do is give you a little bit of an outline as to what's going on. It's not set in stone, but usually tends to be pretty good, especially with a 3-day week. It's pretty hard to screw this up. But the one thing to kind of keep in mind for you would certainly be these upcoming dates. You're a junior in high school. I'm sorry. It's going to be a miserable year. At least for the first couple weeks. You're treading water. Maybe make it through one day and you're sore already. Yeah. Big part that's going to make it easier is time management. And as you get more accustomed to that, you will be better off. You got a lot of classes. A lot of you are taking multiple CHS, AP, honors level, work schedules. If you're starting to get a job, more responsibility when it comes to maybe clubs, athletics, stuff like that. It's going to be busy. You will be okay. You have deer in headlight look for a little while. Things will start to kind of settle down after a while. But the sooner you can start kind of figure out your schedule, when you can devote time to class A, B, C, work A, hopefully not B, and all those kinds of things, I think the better off it's going to be for you. So weekly syllabus is trying to help with that and let you know what you do need to be aware of coming up. So for example, when you take a look at today, it says reading assignment, writing assignment on day 1. Woohoo. You have a reading assignment of, I want you to take a look at chapter 5 of Grapes of Wrath. That's 42 to 53. Some of you read that in June, some of you read it in July, some of you read that on Sunday. Hopefully all of you have read it at least at some point, sometime. On Friday of this week, I'm going to give you a quiz for Chapter 5 only. Chapter 5 is not the turtle chapter, where you wondered, why am I worried about a turtle crossing the road? It's not a Joe chapter. It's one of those expository chapters where the people from the bank kick the farmers off the land and tell them they have to go, and they do the bank is a monster kind of chapter. So you are going to have a 20-question, 20-point quiz on Chapter 5 on Friday. Now, you are allowed to bring notes. You can do handwritten notes for Chapter 5, and you can use those for the quiz. You cannot print out chapter summaries from Schmoop and Grade Saver and Cliff Notes and Spark Notes and all those kind of stuff, but you can bring in handwritten notes. Somebody, of course, asked, can I rewrite Chapter 5? Sure. Just don't get mad at me when I assign you to rewrite a chapter that you don't feel like rewriting. You can write whatever you want, but you're going to have like 10 minutes to do a 20-question quiz. So if you do rewrite all of Chapter 5, that doesn't mean Matt has 45 minutes to read through Chapter 5 and locate all his answers and stuff like that. So I'd say most of you probably bring in a page or two, but whatever handwritten notes you want to use in your own handwriting, done by you, you can use for your quiz. It'll take about 10 minutes to do it at the beginning. For the writing assignment, it says the Grapes of Wrath prompts, which you have, you just don't know where they are. We'll get to that in a little bit. But starting tomorrow, we're going to talk about your first writing assignment for the Grapes of Wrath, which is going to be prompt number 1. When you take a look down here, you can see that next Thursday, which is the 31st, that's when you're going to have a draft for that first essay. The following Friday, on September the 8th, you're going to have a draft for a second essay. So you're going to have 2 essays that are going to be worked on for the Grapes of Wrath, and then you're ultimately going to turn them in on the 14th. Starting next week, we are going to take a look at my personal biography, Heart of Darkness, and start working on that book. So, like I said, if you haven't, some people got that. If you haven't read The Grapes of Wrath, you want to go to CRC. I don't want to kick you out, but life's miserable if you haven't read that book because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. Okay, but it will work. You will be okay. You're treading water. You have floaties. You'll be swimming laps in a couple of weeks. Darby has to see me 2 periods a day, so you do. And you. I said it again. Some people didn't get that joke. It's tough. Any questions of the layout of your weekly syllabus? On the back of the weekly syllabus, if you flip it over, is the sign-up info for Remind. It's up to you if you want to use it. I would. I'm not going to send you little notes all the time, but I'll send you a note tomorrow night. Don't forget you got a quiz for Chapter 5 tomorrow. If you have your phone on you right now and you want to sign up for it right now, go ahead. I'm not going to yell at you and take it away. If you want to wait till later, that's fine too. It's up to you if you want to do it through phone, email. That's completely your call. Anyone still have the book sign-up sheet? Okay. And remember, this is on the back of your weekly syllabus, so you can see it there as well. While we're talking about signing up for things, one thing that some of you already have signed up for, 14 of you, is the Google Classroom. I sent an invitation to your student Gmail address, and a fair number of you accepted. Some of you might not have looked at it yet. By Monday of next week, I would like you to accept my invitation to Google Classroom because we do some things through Google Classroom, and it's useful for you to have it and know it's there and all that kind of stuff. One possible issue, and many of you have already heard about it, you're getting new student Gmail accounts. Some of you haven't heard about it based on Brooke's reaction. It's going to be your last name, first initial, and the year you graduate. So you guys will be 19. So Brooke J, 19, I think at students.nhsv.net. As far as I know, it doesn't exist yet. The 9th graders it exists, but I looked up sophomores and juniors and I couldn't find them yet. I think that's also now you're logging to get on the computers in the district as opposed to whatever the weird stuff was that you were doing before. So at some point, the Gmail address that you have, it won't work, but right now it still works, so that's the one we're just going with. Whenever it switches and Armageddon comes, we'll deal with it at the time, and we'll figure it out, so don't worry about it yet. Supposedly, all the stuff in your drive and emails that you currently have will get migrated over to the new one. You and I both know that's not going to happen for all of you. So if there's something you want to back up, I would back it up before it disappears forever. And I mean forever. Your stuff will go to Colleen's account because it still exists, and then it will zap, and then you will no longer exist. Oh well. But once you do sign up for Google Classroom, this is where a lot of the stuff that we get is housed with things that we do, and I think the reminders help. So like, hey, reminder, Chapter 5 quiz on Friday. we'll talk about what's all in the topics and all that kind of stuff as the year goes on. I always have the current unit that we're working on, so in this case it's Grapes of Wrath. Matt, what do you got to do for Friday? You got a quiz on chapter 5. So because we're in school, this isn't loading, but when you do it at home, it'll work. There'll be a PDF of the book. So Matt forgets his book in his locker, he can still read chapter 5. Won't be pages 42 to 53. Hey, there it is, somewhere. But you would still be able to get access to it. What do you know? Right there, Grapes of Wrath. As we start working on other things like Heart of Darkness, the current will switch to Heart of Darkness, but that Grapes of Wrath topic will still be down here. So as you need to access things, you'll be able to. But the agenda, the things that I post on the board would be there, essay materials and whatnot. Because it is 9th period and you have early dismissals and athletic reasons to leave and stuff like that, and absences just happen, the recorded lessons might be something that you go to. This is an intro from last year, but I record the lessons that we do, at least most of them, so that if you do miss something, you can check to see what it is. It helps when we go over essay assignments and then you forget everything. It's an easy way to kind of find it via YouTube. So when Aiden does miss a day, this Aiden, not that Aiden, he's not going to go, what did I miss? Because I'll get aggravated because he would already know based on weekly syllabus, Google Classroom topics, all that kind of stuff. So you'll ask the more intelligent question, hey, can you further explain fill in the blank concept? And then I will be happy. And my happiness is more important than your happiness. Okay. Any questions? So, accept the invite. The easiest thing I think is just to kind of play around with it. Once you do accept it, I would go to your settings, and you're going to want to kind of change some of the email options, because otherwise your inbox is going to blow up with emails from me saying, I posted an announcement, I posted an assignment. You don't want all that stuff. So when you do go to settings where the 3 lines are, you can kind of filter what kind of email notifications you want. I would change that if I were you. But that's your call. Come on. There we go. Course syllabus. This guy. Don't lose him or it. Go on him. It's beautiful. It's like stapled. It's fine. Book form. Indestructible. You need this, don't lose it. The front part at the top, basic, contact information. You can shoot me an email. I put both of them on there. I think the Gmail one probably works better because Gmail talks nicely to Gmail rather than using the other ones. You have a weird email address, it might get lost in the spam filter, and we don't want that to happen. Course description, I'll let you kind of look over most of that stuff on your own. It's a collegiate level writing class, so we put a pretty big emphasis on writing throughout the course of the year, and you'll certainly be able to pick up on that right away. A couple things with grades. The percentages aren't any different than any other class that you take so far as what's a B plus versus an A minus and things like that. AP classes do get that 0.6 bump. So rather than having a 4.0, it would be like a 4.6. A 3.0 would be a 3.6. So that's fun. That's nice. If you fail, I think it's still a 0. I don't think you get like a 0.6, just for the sake of it. That would be fair. One thing I do that I don't think Mrs. Perry and Palmieri did, but I'm sure some science classes, maybe math classes do, is I weight your grades. So this can get a little confusing at the beginning of the year. All of your assignments I break down to 3 categories. It's an essay, it's a test or a quiz, homework participation, and then they get assigned values. So the quiz that you are going to take on Friday is 20 points. But that quiz, until any more quizzes or tests take place, will account for 35% of your grade. So in theory, we could never take another quiz, and that 1 out of 20 that Olaf got on that quiz would wreck your grade for basically the whole semester. Now there will be more quizzes. There'll be certainly more than 1 essay, more than 1 homework participation type quiz or points, but it takes a little while for those things to even out. You're not turning in an essay to me until the 14th. So half your grade really isn't there until your first essay start getting submitted. So those things will balance out, but it will take a little bit. So the main thing is I don't want people getting worried about grade until we have grades actually going in there. I'll let you know if I'm concerned You tell me if you're concerned or if you're getting any pressure or heat back home of concerned parents and guardians and things like that, and then we can talk about it.
Attention teachers, please pardon the interruption. If any of your students do not know what bus they are to take home, please send them to one of the offices. Once again, if any students do not know what bus to take home, please report to one of the offices. Also, teachers, please display the bus map for your students so they know what bus they are to take home. Please display that bus map so students know what bus they are to take home. Thank you.
Anyone not know what bus you're going on? Okay. We'll do the bus map later. Hopefully.
So grades, if you have a concern, let me know, but you kind of just have to let things even out for a little bit of time with it. The next few pages, it's pretty much the journal stuff that shows up. These are the things that we read. It can certainly kind of change a little bit as time goes on. I gave you, if you were in pre-AP last year, you got a similar sheet to this last year when I came in and visited and I guess made you sign up for the class. I don't know. Summer reading handout, same one you got last year. In case you lost it, now you don't feel like an idiot for not knowing where it is. You got a backup copy right there. Classroom procedures, policies, all this stuff. Just going to talk about a couple things briefly so we have time to show you the bus map later. It's ninth period. You want to be here. I don't know if you want to be here, but from an academic standpoint, you do want to be here. We talk a lot about the things that you are reading, the things that you are writing that are certainly going to be useful for you. There's not really a way to replicate it. Yes, watching the little YouTube videos that I'll post on there might be helpful, but I think you and me talking about it is best. So absences happen, doctor appointments happen, track meets happen, but try to maximize when you can be here. If you're throwing up and you got a fever of 102, stay home. We'll figure it out. But do your best certainly to be here. Homework and papers, especially when it comes to essays, because we'll do a fair amount of them. You probably are familiar with turnitin.com, and if you forget username and stuff, we'll go over all that a little bit later on. Your final copies of essays you submit on turnitin.com. Partially, it's plagiarism check and all that kind of stuff to make sure that Aiden and Leah aren't doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. But the main reason I use it, that's how I collect essays from you. You don't like going to the library during homeroom with a pass and then finding out that they're out of printer paper or the toner is down and things like that. And I don't like writing 50 passes on the day that a paper is due because it kind of messes up my morning. So you submit your essays through turnitin.com. I don't need a paper copy. If I do need a paper copy, I'll make sure to let you know. But you don't have to give it to me for ninth period. You would just make sure you submit it by 11:59 p.m. the day that it's due. So it's not like you're going to have a study hall 10th period since it doesn't exist, but if you still need to finish up, fine-tune a few things, and you can only get to that at 7:15 tonight, that's fine. You can take care of business and then submit the essay to me that night. I'll still grade it. You'll still get comments. That'll just come back digitally to you through Turnitin. Makes things easier for me. I think it makes things easier for you. And you don't have to read my handwriting nearly as much, which will make you happy. As those first couple essays are due, again, we'll talk about the process with it. Plagiarism, it's one of those ugly things we always have to talk about. Don't plagiarize, don't plagiarize, don't plagiarize, don't plagiarize, don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Okay. You're going to sign a thing saying, I promise I did not plagiarize. And then if you do, you get in trouble. We'll talk about it. Sometimes people do it purposely. Sometimes people, I think, do it accidentally. The main thing is, if you use any kind of resource, print, online, to help you figure out what you're doing, then you need to cite it. So you use SparkNotes to find a passage in a chapter, you need to cite that because that was a tool that you used to figure out what it was that you were going to do. So just make sure whatever resources you use, you utilize, you let me know about it, you cite it, then you don't have anything to worry about. Page 6 is really when the important stuff starts showing up for you. Not to say that the things that were before are unimportant, but the page that says course schedule, this is significant. What do you have due next Thursday?
something. Prompt number 1 for Grapes of Wrath. Midway down your page, what do you have? Prompt number 1 for the Grapes of Wrath. So when we talk about, all right, for prompt number 1, what are the concerns? You would be taking a look at it right here. When it comes to prompt number 2, lo and behold, below it is number 2. You can see what that prompt is that you're going to be writing about. So your homework assignment for tomorrow, I would start reading chapter 5, but I also want you to specifically look at this prompt and see what are some areas of concern that you have so that we can go over those things and make sure you're okay. You can see, looking at prompt number 1, it's a question about rhetorical devices, and that happens again with prompt number 2. So if rhetorical devices are a concern, they would be for me, that's something that we're going to go over. What you can also then start to do is take a look as we progress through the course. The next unit, so to speak, is Heart of Darkness. I already mentioned that. As you go on to the next page, you can see the application and writing down there, so that you have to figure out, through rhetorical devices, that fancy word again, how does Marlowe characterize Kurtz? That lets you know while you're reading, you probably want to pay attention to how Marlowe characterizes Kurtz, mental notes, written notes. You got a better idea of what it is that you're going to do when essay time rolls around. So think of this as kind of like a little bit of a roadmap to kind of guide you through the course. That's not to say essay assignments can't change, won't change. Not all of them are in there, but a fair number of the prompts that we're going to utilize are certainly already included in your syllabus so that you have an idea of what it is that you need to be focusing on. And you can see that one is rhetorical devices. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis early on placed on rhetorical devices, and that's where we'll start talking about with tomorrow. No, both prompts 1 and 2 are whole entire book. So chapter 5 is going to be, I don't want to say a starting point for the essay. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the whole book, but chapter 5 will give us a way to kind of focus on certain parts and kind of use that as an example as to how you could build up. You can still use chapter 5 within your essay, but your whole essay for both of them are about the novel itself, not just chapter 5 or the expository chapters. So you're still going to write about Tom. You're still going to blast Rosa Sharon for being annoying. And some of you will even dare to write about the last chapter and scene with her, and others will never want to talk about that moment. Megan, give us your feedback. Or not. But when I start talking about prompt number 2, and you see everyone like nodding and you feel like what in the world is going on, chances are we're probably dealing with something that's in the course syllabus. And so that pretty much continues on and on and on for quite a while. Where the staples are, like midway in your syllabus, it's page 18 and 19. I think you saw this last year with pre-AP, at least got introduced to you towards the end of the year, the AP writing scale. It's how your essays on the AP exam get scored. Not worried about AP exam yet. This is how I grade your essays. So I'm just showing it to you now so that when you get an essay back and it says 6+, you don't hyperventilate that you got a 6%. You recognize that, oh, I got an 84%. Okay, I'll take that and kind of move on. You're probably still unfamiliar. It's going to take a while to familiarize yourself with it, but it's something we'll look at throughout the course of the year. So AP essay scales, you still get a Power School percentage, but most of the time it'll say 8, 7, 6+, 5-, that kind of stuff. And this is kind of just an area to look at, your little key, to figure out what that essay actually means. On the AP exam, anything that's a 5 or higher is passing. Anything that's 4 or lower is not passing. My favorite page is page 20. I love dead words. I like finding dead words in Matt's essays so I can tear him apart then for using those dead words. If you ever want me to get really upset at you, just use word number 33 repeatedly, and I'll throw up on your essay. whether it's digitally submitted, Matt, or in hand. I will find a way. We'll talk about this as it goes on, but these are things that I want you to try to avoid. I'm not trying to change who you are as a writer. I'm not trying to take your voice or tone away, but I want you to be more cognizant and aware of the words that you are using and how you are using them. So things like cliches, people use cliches when they get lazy, and that happens for a lot of these things. There's probably a better word out there than big or bad that would have a more academic tone and a stronger connotation to it. The one that you'll probably struggle with the most early on, any guesses? Number one, that's why it's there, to be verbs, and I'll give you a list of what those things are, but is, was, were, has, had, have, did, does, done, those kinds of things. Those are to be verbs. It's not that they're going to be completely eliminated or eradicated from your writing, but we're really trying to cut them down. They're like bunnies. They just multiply all over the place, and it kind of really disrupts your tone. So what I'm trying to do is get you to, again, be more aware, more precise, have a purpose behind the words that you use. These do not apply to your rough drafts. So you have a rough draft on Thursday. I'm more worried about content than I am the presentation of it. This is something that we'll kind of work on throughout the course of the year. But when you do your first final copies, you won't have this stuff in there. Otherwise, you're giving me the right to blow up your grade. Okay. Any questions? Don't worry, I will show the bus map. Leah looks worried. Who drove to school today? If you miss your bus, Leah will take you home. Darby's just going to get out of there as soon as she can. She won't, but Leah will. When we go to starting writing the essays, page 21, 22, 23, these are kind of like the training wheel pages where if you're not sure what to do, you can revert to introduction, body paragraphs. It's me giving you just an idea of how to set up your essay. There's a checklist that I put on pages 22 and 23. The idea being before you do your final copy, you don't have to do this for me and turn it in, but you can personally run through, make sure your heading's in MLA style, left side, you're mentioning all the appropriate things, you didn't underline your title, just to make sure everything is the way that ultimately it's supposed to be. Again, that's something for you to use, not something you have to give to me. Page 24, don't worry about it, independent reading, we do that later. Page 25 is AP literary terms. This is one of the main reasons why you don't want to lose the syllabus. Come end of October, beginning of November, we start doing AP literary term quizzes. So when I go, all right, quiz on Wednesday, allegory through antithesis, make sure you study. This is where you'll look on page 25 for what those words are in the definitions. If you don't have terms, it makes it kind of hard to look over. So make sure you don't use the syllabus for purposes. Any questions? You're almost there. Almost survived. No yawn. That's a sign of weakness. We are not weak. I would start reading chapter 5, just so you're not doing all of it tomorrow. And please, on page 6 of course syllabus, do look over that first prompt so that you have specific questions about what it is I need to do in order to write about it. I don't think when you walk out of here tomorrow, you'll know exactly what it is you want to write, but the hope would be when you walk out of here tomorrow, you at least understand what it is I'm supposed to write and what an appropriate structure setup would be. Since I have to show you the bus map, this is the earliest we probably shut down. Otherwise, most times we run until 2 o'clock. When that bell rings, then you can get up and leave. Thank you. Your student information sheets that you were filling out, pass those down just like you did for the book sign-offs, and I will collect them.